Okay, it is time for piano. Here we are. Hi, how's everybody doing today? I hope you're excited because we're going to be having a lot of fun today in piano. And I'm so glad you could join me live. So first things first, if you could like this video and share this video, you know that helps me, right? It helps me reach even more piano learners across the globe. So hit the share button and help me out, okay? The second thing is if you could subscribe on YouTube as well. This helps as well, right? So if you ever need to back out of the live lesson and re-watch it later, YouTube is the best resource to find these lessons so you can re-watch them at your convenience, okay? So subscribe on YouTube. The next thing is our private group is getting very busy and very exciting. I just put out instructions for our virtual recital. So if you're not in the private group, you're missing out, right? So search for Encore Music Makers. You can find it on the Groups tab of the main Facebook page, okay? I'd love to have you. And then finally, of course, I am on Patreon, right? So I've mentioned Patreon before. It's this really amazing platform for creative people like myself to collect a steady income, right? So with the virus and everything being so up in the air and not knowing things, Patreon helps make sure that I've got food on my table and I can pay my bills. So if you want to help me out, I would really appreciate it. I have different tiers you can join that fit your budget, between $3 a month all the way up to $90 a month now. So and they all have different amazing things that you can join in on, okay? I'd love to have you there on Patreon. Take a visit to it, okay? All right, so let's get started. So last week we had a really interesting time learning this song, Lullaby, right? The song that all parents and even all children should know, right? So let's turn to page 95 in our book. Here's your book. Adults All in One, Level 1. 95, yes. Okay, so this is what it looks like, okay? Page 95. Okay, so Lullaby, like I said, it's got a lot of really interesting things in it, right? Our left hand, we're very lucky because it's reviewing those chords that we know, and the right hand is taking that melody and stretching it across more notes than what we've ever had before. So we're stretching up an octave and things like that. So it's quite interesting, okay? So let's go ahead and see how Lullaby sounds. Let's switch to piano view. Okay, so first things first, let's find our spot because we're starting in this sort of different place for our right hand. Our right hand finger, one thumb, will be on E, and our left hand will be in the regular, good old C position that we know, okay? We're going to play through this with the correct dynamics, the correct counting, and the correct tempo at andante, okay? So let's see if you can keep up with me, all right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, ready, play. Wonderful. I got a little confused in there, huh? There was one spot where I completely missed the interval. You may have done a better job on that than I did, but I'm pretty happy with my turn. So I also forgot to do the ritardando at the end, so again, points to you if you remember to do that one, okay? I think perhaps in order for me to feel better about it, I would love to play it one more time. What do you say? You gonna do it with me? All right, let's do it once more, just so I feel good, right? All right, let's try this again. Okay, so we've got our left hand again in C position. Our right hand finger 1 will be on E. And let's make sure we've got those intervals correct this second time around, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, ready, play. So much better. My confidence is up, up, up from that time through. I hope yours is too. Yay, very good. I'm so glad that some of you are watching and playing along. Wonderful work on that. Now, we're going to get a new song this week, okay? Now, if you feel that Lullaby is a little too tricky for just doing it in 1 week, feel free to keep it, okay? There's those things that make it really, really tricky, like those stretching of those intervals. And that's something that you have to be very aware of when you're reading the treble stuff, okay? Make a deep note about all of those line notes and space notes and how they relate to each other in that treble stuff, okay? But for now, I'd like you to turn the page to page 96, okay? Let me show you what it looks like. 96, all right. So, if you read the description of this video, we will be doing flat signs today, okay? So you notice at the very top, we've got the flat sign, okay? This is interesting because it's sort of related to our sharp sign, right? So you remember the sharp sign, yeah? But today we're learning the flat sign. And it's really interesting, okay? It kind of looks like a melting letter B in a way, but you can sort of use this imagery in your head of this melting B in a way that helps understand what a flat actually does, okay? It's going to bring the tone of whatever note you're playing down a half step, okay? So a flat, you're going to play the next note to the left, whether black or white, okay? Now, there are flats that exist that end up being on the white key. So that's why I don't like to say that flats are black keys, because that's not necessarily true. It's only partly true. So make sure you're understanding that, okay? So the next note to the left, whether black or white, okay? Let's switch to piano view and let's see if we can practice a little bit of flats, okay? Now, on your keyboard or piano, I want you to find a G on your piano, okay? So I'm going to see here, I've got a G right here, and that's typically where I put my finger 1, left hand, okay? And now, in order to flat it properly, I want you to look to the left, okay? There's a black key right here. Do you see this one right here? This is one note to the left of G, so this is called a G flat, and I'm going to play it. Yes, okay. Now let's see if we can do this with another note, okay? Now I want you to find a B on your piano. I'm going to see here, I've got a G right there, so I'll put my right hand thumb. When I have my finger 3 on this B, when I have my right hand in G position, I notice that the first key to the left is this black note right here. Do you see that one? This one is called B flat, okay? So I want you to play that one. Excellent, excellent, yes. Very good. Now, with those flats, we are going to explore them a little bit more when we're in this G position, okay? Now, you know that the new G position that we had has our left hand in the middle of the piano and our right hand up in regular G position, okay? Now, those B flats that we just played with our right hand, we're going to be encountering them in this position, okay? That's going to be your finger threes, right? So in our music, when you see the flat sign written before a B, you're going to play that next note to the left, okay? Now, our left hand, like I said, has some really interesting stuff going on in this new song. It's called Rocket Away, all right? Now, if you look very carefully at this song, the left hand begins with a nice block triad in G major, okay? That's the GBD, okay? But look at the second measure for the left hand. I see tied notes, okay? Tied notes, if you can recall, are those notes that you're going to hold extra long for the value of those two measures combined, right? So if you've got whole notes, that's 4 beats. And then the next measure is another whole note group. That's 4 more beats for a total of 8 beats that you're going to hold that chord, okay? So whenever you see those tied notes, make a note of that. What I like to do is mark them with an X. Okay, let me show you what that looks like. You see that right there? I've got an X through this chord because I know it's tied, this way, tied with the chord before it, okay? As long as they're all on the same lines and spaces, you know it's a tied note, okay? This happens multiple times in your song. So if you want to take some time to go through and cross those out, you can do that, okay? All right, now, for Rocket Away, we're in that G position, all right? Let's learn the right hand to begin this song, okay? I'm going to switch to piano view, and let's do it together. All right. All right, so with our right hand, we are going to begin in G position. I've got my right hand thumb on G above middle C, and I have fanned out the rest of my fingers, okay? Now I've noticed that this song begins with our pattern of thirds, creeping up, and then seconds in the third measure, and I see our very first flat sign in the fourth measure. So let's see if we can do it together, and we will be saying our note names as we go, okay? All 4 lines, here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. G, G, B, D, G, B, D, A, G, A, G, to B flat, A, G, G, B, D, G, B, D, B flat, G, B flat, hold that to A, 2, 3, 4, line 3. G, G, B, D, G, B, D, A, G, A, G, B flat, A. Very good. Last line. G, G, B, D, G, B, D, B flat, G, A, G. Very nice. All right. Now, are you feeling confident about those notes? Yes, it's a type of song that you have a melody, right? And then that melody is repeated, right? So within that melody, though, the initial opening, there's some really interesting patterns, right? You see the thirds going up in thirds, the G, B's, and D's. And then you have this second pattern before that flat is introduced. So that's definitely something to make a note of, okay? As we are traveling here throughout the song, you notice it's also slurred, right? Do you see the big long slurs across each and every line and every phrase? It really makes a huge difference in the way it sounds. So make sure that it's very smooth, right? If you think of the song Rocket Away, right? It's all about like rockets in a way, right? So they're blasting off, and it's talking about if you're feeling blue, if you're feeling weary, you better listen to what I say, just rock it all away, right? So think about that, nice and smooth going up into the sky, okay? Now, Let's see if we can look at the left hand now, okay? Now remember, I said these were block chords. So if you've been practicing your block chords in G major, then this should be fairly self-explanatory, okay? Now going through each of them, we begin with the 1 chord, right? The G major chord. When we proceed to the 3rd measure after that tied note, it's a 4 chord, okay? That's that G, C, E, okay? And that's tied as well. When we go to the 2nd line, we've got another G major chord tied into the 2nd measure. Next, we have another 4 chord and then a V7, right? That's a D7 because D is the 5th tone of our G major scale. The 3rd and 4th lines both copy a lot of the same chords of the 1st and 2nd lines. So as we get to those spots, it'll be a little bit more familiar as you play those chords. So let's go ahead and play them together, okay? Left hand. All right. So looking here, we're going to make sure that we're starting in that middle section of our G major, and it's going to be pretty nice when we have those tied notes because we're just going to be holding it extra long. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's count off. 1, 2, ready, play. 2, 3, 4, and tie. 2, 3, 4 with a 4 chord. 2, 3, 4, and tie. 2, 3, 4, back to 1 chord. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 4 chord. 2, 3, 4 to a D7 chord. 2, 3, 4, back to 1 chord. 2, 3, 4, and tie. 2, 3, 4 to a 4 chord. 2, 3, 4, and tie. 2, 3, 4. Last line. 1 chord. 2, 3, 4, and a tie. 2, 3, 4. Now quickly, 4 chord, down to a D7 chord, and back to a 1 chord. 2, 3, and 4. That was brilliant, guys. Yes, very good. I'm telling you that once you get these chords under your fingers, it really makes a huge difference in how we approach these songs that have sort of a chord approach to learning, okay? It makes you sort of feel energized, realizing that these patterns can be followed in our music. So it's pretty remarkable, okay? Now, what's left to do for Rock It Away? Well, we definitely have to play it hands together, right? Just so we get an idea of how it sounds. But we also have to keep in mind, there's some really interesting tempo markings here, okay? We've got moderately fast, okay? Moderately fast basically means it's gonna be faster than your average tempo, right? But not crazy fast. Okay, so think of something like a horse instead of a cheetah, right? It's still pretty fast, and it's definitely not slow. So you've got to keep that in mind as you're practicing, okay? When we're learning our notes, it's important to play nice and slowly so we get them under our fingers, right? You want to get to the point to where you don't have to think too much about the notes, sort of like autopilot in a way, right? That way you can focus on the other things that make the song special, right? Because you don't want to just learn notes. That's just half of it, right? You have to learn everything that makes it special. So the slurs, the tempo, the dynamics, right? So I noticed that this song here also has the dynamic marking of mezzo forte. And mezzo forte is really, you know, a nice happy medium volume, okay? It's not too loud and it's not too soft, okay? I think we could try and play it hands together now. If you're not quite ready to play hands together, that's okay. Don't worry. You can always plink along with the hand that you're comfortable playing, or just listen and follow with your pencil, okay? That's why I always have my pencil. All right, let me switch to piano view and you can listen. Here we go. All right. Now, finding my position, I'm going to have that right hand finger, one thumb, on the G above middle C. I'm going to have my left hand thumb on that D right next to middle C, remember? This is a different G position than the low G position. So make sure you're starting in the right spot, okay? Now let's see how this song goes. Listen extra carefully, okay? I'm gonna count off. 1, 2, ready, play. Pretty darn good. It was a little bit faster, wasn't it? I really wanted to show you what a moderately fast tempo felt like, right? It's quite a bit faster than what we were playing it before, huh? That's okay. That's a good thing. Don't worry about that, right? Tempo is always something that you can work towards, okay? And you definitely want to save working on the tempo until you have a really good handle on the notes, right? I always like to say this, accuracy over speed, okay? Accuracy of notes is way more important to me than trying to get it up to tempo, right? Up to tempo is step 2 after you've learned your notes. You can worry about the tempo for sure when it's time, but notes are always more important at the beginning stages of learning a song, okay? So don't fret about that. All right, now, I think we should play it again. What do you say? Yeah, it always helps to hear it again, to see it again, to follow along in your music again. Let's go ahead and give it one more shot, okay? Let's do it. All right. So there's our G position again, all right? Finger 1, right hand on G. And then I've got my left hand finger 1 on that D right next to middle C, okay? Here we are. Rock it away. This has our flat sign in it. Lots of slurs, lots of ties. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. Nice job. That was excellent. Yeah, it really helps like to play it over and over and over again. Now I know with a really good solid week of practice, this is going to sound really, really wonderful. And I can't wait to hear it, right? So when you're ready for me to review your pieces, record yourself playing it on your piano or keyboard and post it in our private Facebook group so I can get a chance to see how you're progressing, okay? I'll give you some feedback, some tips, or just like a really resounding cheering section for the amazing work that you're doing. So it always makes me smile when I get new video submissions. All right, well that's wonderful. You did an amazing job today for your lesson. We're gonna just have Rock It Away for this week. And if you want to keep Lullaby, you can absolutely keep it, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Now, taking a look at our theory. You thought you weren't going to get any this week, huh? Looking at your theory, take a look at page 97, okay? Page 97 is all about the flat sign, okay? When you take a look at that flat sign, I always think of that melting letter B, okay? That's a really important thing to learn in our music because there's plenty of songs that have flat signs in them, okay? You're going to write in the names of the flat keys. You're also going to take a look at the actual notes written on the treble and the bass staff and figure out how they're written for flats, okay? And if you want, it's always a good idea to play those notes that you have in your theory pages because it helps really fine-tune that eye when you're reading the staff, okay? Fantastic. So that's going to be your page of theory. All right. Now, this concludes our lesson. You guys had an amazing lesson today. I'm so proud of that progress that you're making. It's remarkable. And I know some of you are watching live, so that makes me happy too. Woohoo! Yes, so that's it, all right? Let's talk a little bit more about Patreon, okay? So Patreon, take a look at it. Patreon.com/IzzyChia. If you want to help support me and keep these lessons coming, I'm not doing these, it costs money to do these, right? And it would be really lovely to have the help from some of you that have that little wiggle room in your wallet to keep these lessons coming, right? I love my job. I love what I do. And I love it even more when I have that support from you guys. So take a look. $3 a month. If you can spare it, sign up as a super fan, right? Or if you even want to go all the way up, you can be an elite patron, and then you get private piano lessons with me, right? Now that's extra special, all right? Take a peek, see what works for you, all right? And last but definitely not least, we end all of our lessons with our music quote. And today's music quote comes from the American jazz icon, Louis Armstrong. And this is what he says: "Music is life itself." It really is. Anytime that you're having a bad day or you're not feeling that great, what's the thing that you turn to? I know for some people they like to turn on a song, or they like to make their own music, right? Music really can be a major part of your life if you give it that chance, right? And it really shows that the fact that you're sticking with these lessons and doing amazing things, that you want music to be part of your life. So that's fantastic. It makes me really happy to know that you're sticking with it and you are dedicated and committed to your piano learning journey. Thanks again for joining me for piano. I'm so happy I get to do this every week. I will see you all very soon in the private group, and I'll see you next week for lesson, okay? Bye.